by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. His promise, your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Never failed me yet. He won't. See, I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep us within your love. Oh, my heart will sing your praise again. It's your promise. Your promise still stands. For great is your faithfulness. You're faithful. And I'm still in your hands. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never, your promise still stands. Your promise still stands. For great is your faithfulness. Oh, you're faithful. We're still in your hands. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I see you do it. Seen you move. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it. See you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do. He makes a way when there was no way, and I believe we'll see you do it. See you do it again. You do it again. See you do it again. Your promise still stands. For great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. Yes, God. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail, no. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. God, you're faithful. We're still in your hands. I'm still in your hands. And this is my confidence. You never fail me yet. You never fail me yet. You never fail.
Hey, welcome to Prairie Lakes Church. I hope you had a great 4th of July. We're really glad you're here. And the first thing I want you to hear from me today is that we're a no matter church. And we don't just say that, we truly mean it. So no matter what you bring today, and no matter who you are, no matter where you've been, what you've done, or what's been done to you, we want you to know that God loves you, and Prairie Lakes Church is a safe place for you to look for Him. So thanks for joining us today. And if you're brand new today, or maybe you're anonymous, you're watching at home, you're watching on your phone or on your TV, and you haven't taken the step to become known, to get connected, to meet others, and to take next steps here at Prairie Lakes Church, if you're in that spot, I'd encourage you today to take a step to move from anonymous to known, because when you do that, you'll grow in relationship with others, you'll grow in relationship with God, and life will just be better. So if you take that step today, I'll send you an Amazon gift card. I'm not going to spam you with texts or emails. I'll send that to you, see how I can be praying for you. And all you need to do that is text NEW to 99581. And the next step that we do talk about every week is giving generously. And we give generously because we have a God that is so generous, and His generosity should overflow in us to be generous to others. So as Christians, we should be a generous people. Giving generously is a step that all followers of Jesus are called to take. Me as a pastor, I'm not excluded from that. I'm also called to take that step to give generously with my time, with my talent, and my treasure. So if you want to join me in giving to Prairie Lakes Church, you can do that right now by going to prairielakes.org/give. But we are concluding our scrolling series here today. So you're not done with me here yet today, because I'm actually going to be sitting down in the message with Pastor Jesse and Simon from our digital strategies team. So let's kick to today's message.
Well, hello, Prairie Lakes Church. Welcome. Happy July 4 weekend. I hope it's been good for you. I hope you took some time to just reflect a little bit and thank God for the country we live in and the men and women who've made it that way. And in fact, I would say I even hope that you have eaten some hot dogs, watched some baseball, and launched some explosives in the air if that was legal where you are. Okay. Glad and that you have maybe hopefully all of your digits still. But we have been in a series around here at Prairie Lakes for the last 3 weeks now called Scrolling, okay? And here's been the idea of the series, the premise of the series. We're really talking about screens and how much of our lives are lived in front of them and what that's like, stuff like that. But we have to admit in this series that we've lost the battle, okay? Which doesn't mean that we're not fighting it, but screens have won the battle for our attention. They just have, and because that's the case, we underestimate sometimes the time that we spend on them and the influence that they have on us. Okay, so in this series, we are just trying to kind of figure out how do we better pay more attention. How do we pay more attention to our digital life so that we can live the life that God intended. And so as we conclude this series, I've asked two of my red-headed, red-bearded brethren at Prairie Lakes, of whom there are many, by design, I think. We're taking over. But this is Simon Campbell and Cody Caraway. And I'm going to ask you guys to just kind of introduce yourselves. So I think most of us know at least one or maybe sometimes both of you. But I just want you to take a couple seconds to share with our folks, what do you do here? Like, what would you say you do here? And then kind of help us understand why it's connected to what we're talking about this weekend. All right, Cody, you're up first.
Yeah, so like Jess said, my name is Cody, and I'm our executive pastor of digital and reach. And there's really two parts to that. I lead kind of digital tools and strategies to make no matter followers of Jesus who take next steps. And the other part is I lead a central team of staff who's designed to reach new people and then also identify new locations for Prairie Lakes Church to expand.
And that sounded very official. So
Hey,
That's good.
it's pretty good. A+ to you. Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that. All right, you're up.
Yeah, so I'm Simon. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications, and I'm on the digital strategy team. And the communications side of my role is all about relationships and connecting people with our tools and best practices to grow our connection with the church and build trust on our No Matter mission. And then the marketing side, which, I don't know, sometimes feels weird, in the church to talk about marketing. But really, that is all about reaching people outside the church and extending that invitation to try it. And the challenge for us in our team is kind of reimagining those ways to deliver the same invitations that Christians have always had to say, come see what Jesus is about. Come see what the church is like.
But how do we do that in 2024, given all of the tools and all of the culture and everything else?
Yeah, there's something that Jesus says when he's talking and calling Peter and Andrew that I think about a lot when we're in our meetings and coming up with strategies is he's telling them, now you're going to fish for people. They're fishermen by trade, and we're going to figure out. So in the digital world, we're figuring out how to use those things to fish for people in a different way.
It's a great analogy. And so there's a couple of things, even from their explanation, that I kind of want to make sure you heard. For some of us, the fact that we have a digital strategies team was brand new information. And we have had that really since 2021, 2022, and have organized in this way. And it's increasingly becoming a big part of how we live out our mission and vision around here. Number one. And number two, these guys are super smart. And so thank God, because the rest of us need him. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's dive into this. And as we do, okay, the big idea this weekend is really like how do screens sometimes disconnect us or keep us disconnected, and what do we do with that? But there's going to be a little bit of a runway to that, and really it kind of connects with the whole series idea. And so here's where I want to start as we do that. I want to start with awareness.
Yes. Okay? Yep. It's a big piece.
So I know we've talked about some of this stuff before. So even in this series, but even if we need to kind of talk about them again, let's do that. And so here's the analogy, and I want you guys to kind of interact with maybe the 2024 version of it. I grew up in the 80s and 90s when you guys were not yet around, maybe. Okay. And so when I think about like the digital age that we're living in, and just how hard it is and to become aware of just how pervasive it is, I, as an 80s kid, 90s kid, think about a very similar dynamic when it comes to like tobacco and nicotine. Okay. And really, like, here's the thing. We knew it was bad for us, but it took us a while to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, here's the quick memory. And then I want to ask you guys, okay. When I was a kid, Saturday mornings was donut morning. Okay. Every Saturday.
Yeah.
And we would go with, usually it was my mom, unless she was out, and then it was my dad, but our mom would take us to the donut shop, and then we would pick out a donut, right? Yep. But as a little kid, I remember walking into the donut shop, and there was always this thick cloud of smoke just hanging in the air. Mm-hmm. People just mowing down cigarettes and donuts at the same time, I mean, everywhere you went, there was a vending machine. There was like a pop machine, a snack machine, like a cigarette machine. Throw a couple quarters in, get some cigarettes, right? Now, eventually, over those 2 decades, we had Surgeon General's warnings, and then you had legislation that kind of raised the price of some of the stuff, and then you couldn't smoke on airplanes, and there were non-smoking sections, and then there was eventually no smoking at all anywhere, right? We came around it, but there was a long time that we knew it was bad for us. We weren't doing anything about it, really.
Yeah.
So is that, as you guys think about, the digital age today, is it similar? What are you guys seeing there?
Yeah, it's interesting because like technology is moving at such a fast pace, and like we just haven't kept up with the like, is this good for us? But like, what we do know is like similar to smoking, there's a lot of negative impacts to just the increased time on social media and increased time on screens, and that's like increased anxiety, higher rates of depression. Our attention span's a lot smaller, less quality sleep.
So even as you go through those things, okay, some of us, sure. I guess anxiety feels slippery. Attention span, feels slippery. So we know some of these things. Mm-hmm. Do you have a sense of like just how bad and how real that's become?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of studies out there just to show like just the increase in percentage and really the direct correlation to time spent on social media and on devices. But the tough part to it is it like creates this cycle, because the more time we spend on social media, the more we feel those things.
Yes.
And then the more we desire social connectedness and social validation. So where do we go when we do that? We go back to social media.
Yeah.
And then it worsens those symptoms, and then we go right back, and it just kind of creates this addictive cycle that we get kind of caught in.
Yeah.
And I think like when you're talking about awareness, some of these things happen without triggering that for us, because our use of screens becomes so pervasive in our life that it feels inevitable, right? Kind of like the smoke cloud wherever you went. You just kind of felt like it's going to be there.
This is the norm.
This is the norm. This is
accept it.
Right.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of our usage, the impact occurs to us without really triggering that awareness. We're not seeing that because it's gradual, cumulative, all those things.
Yeah. Yep. And I suppose probably added to that dynamic, and it's hard, this is probably where the analogy with tobacco breaks down, but certainly when it comes to our digital lives, makes it complex, is that not all digital habits are bad.
Right.
Correct.
Right? I mean, you could make an argument that tobacco's, like, there's not a lot of positive things about, besides how it makes you feel.
Yeah, you have to squint pretty hard.
But it's not the same. I mean, like, look at us. Look at what we're all using right now, you know? So it makes it difficult, because, sometimes you're going to use this for personal productivity. Sometimes you're going to use this for entertainment in appropriate ways. Mm-hmm. And then there's this dark side of it that we're increasingly becoming aware of, but maybe still behind the 8 ball on. Okay. So here's what I'd love for you guys to kind of share. So even if it's just your subjective personal convictions. Okay. Yep. What does it mean to be digitally healthy? How do you guys define that for you and your families?
Yeah, I think like broad umbrella like picture here, like to your point earlier, Jesse, like it's not simply screen time, because like not all screen time is equal. There are like habit formation strategies and digital tools that are good. Like if I'm working out or tracking my meals or reading the Bible, like those are good uses of screen time. So it's really what percentage of that is the unhealthy screen time, like the mindless scrolling, those things. Yeah. And I think like the health really isn't just in the like digital component, it becomes behavioral. Yeah. Because we know, like in our Attention War series a couple of years ago, we talked about this. Your inputs kind of determine your thought life, which then impacts your beliefs, your heart, and then your actions. So like, what's your thought life like? What are you running to when things get difficult? Yeah. What are your behaviors? And like, that's where I start to like monitor, like, am I healthy in my digital habits?
From that, you kind of, do I have boundaries or guidelines that help right size that for me? Am I okay with, what that's doing? And then if there are patterns like that I want to avoid, or things that I want to dissuade myself from doing, like just creating friction around those opportunities, around those patterns. Yeah.
Creating friction, how? What does that mean?
Well, it can be simply things like resituating where that app is on my phone. How many swipes do I have to do to get to there? Just so I'm cognizant of like, I'm intentionally going to that spot on purpose rather than just sort of mindlessly. Yeah.
Yeah. Cody, I think as we were talking, you had something similar, but it's like creating friction through the location of some of our physical devices.
Yeah. So I'll do it for like, so I'm on Instagram, but I do not have Instagram on my phone, because I know if I do, it's way too easy for me to go to do something on my phone that I should be doing. Yeah. Like,
a work-related thing, and then all of a sudden, hey, Instagram's up, and I'm scrolling through Reels.
Yes.
So I've just added the friction of like, I'm not anti-Instagram, but like my portion control with that is like, I'm going to go get my computer or my iPad, and then I have like more definitive blocks that I'm willing to do that.
I think this is a really good concept that I just want to make sure everybody's kind of grabbing onto here. So really what you guys have both said is, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's not be like either screens or no screens, team screens or team no screens. Let's not do that. Let's understand, how are we using the screens? What percentage of our attention is dedicated towards things through those screens that are not really healthy, not necessarily sinful, but just not useful. You know, the analogy that I start to grab onto, and I, even for the last 2 years, I've just tried and am continuing to try to form better eating habits. Okay. And one of the most helpful things in that for me has been this app called Noom that I just track food, but it's built on the same premise. Not all like food is food. The problem is, if you eat mostly bad food, even if it's your calorie, it's just not as good for you as eating mostly good food. Same thing when it comes to screens, having a sense of, you know, what are we consuming that's kind of not great for us, that we need to limit. What could we consume that would be a lot better for us? I like that. I like that. Part of the reason why I'm grateful that it's the three of us up here, not just one of us, is that all of us are kind of in different stages. And all of us are parents, and we're parenting through different phases, right? So Simon, I just want to start with you. So how old are you?
34.
34. And you guys have kids?
Yeah.
How old are they?
We have 2 girls. Laura and I have 2 girls that are ages 5 and almost 3.
Okay, 5 and 3. Okay. Cody, how old are you?
29.
29. Awesome. And then you guys have at least a couple of kids.
Yeah, at least 2. So no, Sarah and I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So 5, 3, 2, and 1.
5, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so you guys are parenting kids in still that very early childhood phase.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Aaron and I have soon to be freshmen in high school and a soon to be middle schooler, a 6th grader. Okay, so we're in that little bit of that older phase. So if we just talked about awareness, you guys, I'm sure, are becoming increasingly aware of the impact that screens have on your kids. And you guys are navigating what this is like as parents, right? So I want to start here. Let's just talk about impact before we talk about like how you're managing it.
Right.
Yep.
What kind of impact are you seeing screens have on your guys' kids, even 5 and under?
Yeah, I mean, right now we haven't done tablets or iPads and stuff for the girls yet. So their only screen time is really through our family TV. And because of the ages that they are, we have complete control over the amount of screen time. I mean, I can put the remote up high. You know, like, so some of that, we recognize that conversation, that issue is going to continue to become more complex over time. But we see the impact of what they're watching and how that's mirrored in their play and the things that they say, the phrases they say. My 5-year-old just had her preschool graduation, and when she was asked what she wanted to be when she grew up, she said, Moana princess.
Yeah.
So, you know, we see the impact and the effect of those things, right?
It's already modeling something for her, right? Okay. All right. Cody, same question to you.
Yeah, similar but a little different is we do have technology in our kids' lives in just a couple different areas, but there's the positive side of like it is like a great tool for learning and development when it's like controlled, but then there's also the other side of like the overstimulation. Those things just we really see the impact in behavior. Like they are different kids versus when they spend an hour outside versus an hour watching a high stimulation show. So there definitely is just a behavioral impact. And the more that they spend on technology in other categories, it makes them want to do things like read, play outside, all those other good things less. Just because of the difference. And for sure.
Yeah. I mean, similar. I mean, again, as you talked about, you do see it impact your kids a little bit differently as they get older.
Totally.
But you know, for us, you know, I watch my kids almost become zombies. Okay. And it does remind me, even as a kid, you know, when we didn't have mobile screens, but we had video games, you know,
Yeah.
you just get in this Nintendo, you know, binge for hours and you just come out of the basement, you know, just like, you know,
What day is it?
your parents start yelling at you about things because you're just a lazy sap, right? But I watch my kids. It's almost like come into a depressive state. You know, and even when they were younger and having some interactions online, there was some things like anxiety or frustration or even sadness from online interactions. You know, how are you managing this?
Yeah.
You know, so that and then maybe even at a deeper level, why are you managing it the way that you guys are?
Some of it we limit by the like actual technology piece itself. So like our oldest Henry and Arthur too, both like listening to stories. So we don't do that on an iPad because there's other things that they can do. We have what's called just a Yodo player, which is just way too expensive piece of simple technology, but it basically you put cards in with like pre-approved stories, podcasts, things that they can listen to. Some's educational, like they can learn about the solar system, or they can listen to a fun story. And they can do that without kind of the distraction or the depth that exists on like an iPad if we sent them.
And what's bringing such a smile to my face, right? Because as you're describing a device that you put a card in that you can kind of interact with. And I go like, like Speak and Read when I was, you know, 4, right? Like what goes around comes around.
Reinventing it,
Right? Yeah. But you know, it's kind of like a disconnected device that still is connected in the ways that we're used to being connected. Yeah.
Yep. So like with technology is like a tool, an example of how we do that. Like our kids, the only iPad usage they get is we'll sit down together. We'll do programmable Legos. So we'll build something and then together we'll kind of program it and we'll teach them some like coding principles based on what they're telling this Lego set to do. So like that's one in this category. And then like entertainment, like it's more boundaries that we set, like typically at our best now. It's like a show a day and it's during rest time. And then in the summer we try to even lessen that, spend more time outside, just because we know that's what's best for their brains and their brain development. And just like the neuroscience of like what happens when kids watch TV or on devices for too long of a period of time. So and there are the times where Sarah and I are both sick and we're tired and we're just like, we can't do this. We have the TV on for 5 episodes in a row while I try to take a nap on the couch.
I love it. Now let's I would love to share a little bit about, you know, how we do it with a preteen and a teenager. Okay. And so I got no idea. They just do whatever they want all day, every now. So this has been kind of an intentional thing for us. My son has a phone now, okay? But we waited for him to have a phone until 7th grade. That's where we were. They had tablets before then that were obviously, you know, governed by a few different things, but no phone and still no social media, okay? None. The only thing we've done there is like kids. It's like Facebook Messenger for kids. We've done that because you can kind of limit who interacts with them and you can see all of that. So that's both been good for us. And then now we're in the summer. so summers provide challenges for kids that age, obviously. So here's just, and this is just our conviction. This is just how we do it. Okay. We make a distinction between dumb screens and smart screens.
What does that mean?
Okay, so dumb screens is scroll through YouTube and watch stupid videos.
Got it. Yeah.
Watch. Right now it's Phineas and Ferb.
Okay.
They watch Phineas and Ferb, which is horrible. It is just, you want to just grate your teeth while watching something.
I think that was around when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yes. Yeah. So they're allowed to do just, hey, you know, zone out and rot your brain. Yep. But at 10 a.m. that has to stop. And we don't force it to stop. Meaning I don't design something in the environment or on the device that forces it to happen. I want them to lead themselves. Okay. And then if they screw it up, then we talk about that. Right. Yep. So dumb screens until 10 in the morning and then no screens from 10 to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they got to go figure it out.
Yep.
They're old enough now they can hop on their bikes and go somewhere, give them cash. Maybe they get grandma or mom or dad to take them to the pool or the golf course or whatever, right?
Sure.
But 5 hours where you got to figure it out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then we allow smart screens from 3 p.m. to dinner time, okay? Smart screens for us are like educational, or like even Minecraft, where you're kind of building something together, you're creating together, you're collaborating together, things like that kind of engage their brain a little bit differently. And then after dinner, no screens. So we want them to kind of feel like they have to be creative. We want them to kind of have personal connections. We want them to go places and experience things, and screens are entertainment and they can be educational, right? So that's just kind of how we do it. I would love for you guys to talk about what you're noticing in the people that you're the closest to.
One of the things that really grew my own awareness of this, there's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
They interview creators and originators of some of these platforms and how the landscape has shifted over time.
Yes.
And how these tools are used. And I think one of the things that's just stuck in my mind so much is one of the interviewers and one of the sources said, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So
if you're not paying for the product,
you are the product. So because the social media platforms are free for us to use, like our attention becomes what they're selling. Our access to our opinions, to our attention, to our activity, our interactions, those are the things that are being sold, being used to influence behavior for profit, right?
Yes.
So it's in the platform's best interest always to grab our attention. So however it can do that, it's going to use those. It's sort of morally neutral. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what is being shown to you as long as it keeps attention.
Right.
And so I think when we're talking about how this impacts people that we know, I've seen like over time, what is grabbing your attention can sort of create this isolation or echo chamber. So that this is all I'm seeing.
Yes.
I can't really interact. It gets to a point where when we're saturated in it so much, we can't interact or even reckon with something that is contrary. So it's like almost like everybody's operating on a different set of facts. And I've seen people that I love, Christians that I respect, get to a point where they're becoming disconnected from their church because it doesn't align with some of the things that they're holding on to. It's breaking down and disconnecting relationships within their family and causing tension because there's an increasing distance. There's this increasing isolation and echo chamber that we're wrapping ourselves in through our use of screens and what the algorithm is giving us to keep our attention.
Right.
We've talked a lot about how technology shapes us.
Yes.
We also have the ability to shape the algorithm, to shape our content, and the controls that we've talked about, the parameters that we use for our scrolling. But a lot of times, because the lack of awareness is there, we're not shaping it, and by any extent, as much as it's shaping us.
Yeah. All right. It's a great segue into the last thing we want to talk about. Okay. And that really is, what does God's word have to say about all of this? Okay. And this is the part that I'm probably the most excited about. All right. So let's go to the Bible, and we're just going to work through just some different passages and references that, as the three of us have kind of thought about this, these are the ones that we kind of go back to, and we're just going to talk about them a little bit. Okay.
Sure.
So what does God's word say to us in a relevant kind of way, timeless kind of way, when it comes to how we navigate even the issues of 2024 and beyond when it comes to this digital age and these screens that we're in? Okay. All right. So the first one is 2 Timothy 4:3-5. Okay. Let me just read this. I'm going to give you guys a platform to just kind of talk about it. But here's what 2 Timothy says. Here's what Paul says to 2 Timothy. He says, "The time is going to come when people will not put up with sound doctrine, Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. Right? Happened 2,000 years ago even. They'll turn their ears away from the truth and they'll turn aside to myths. But you, keep your head in all situations. Endure hardship. Do the work of an evangelist. Discharge all the duties of your ministry. Why? What jumps out of Scripture to you guys that's relevant for some of this conversation we're having?
I mean, right away, like when we're looking at this passage, it's almost like we're describing the same problem in different contexts. The way that this problem presents itself in our time is new and different and digital and all those types of things. But Paul is writing about a lot of these same things to Timothy, a guy he was mentoring in ministry. And Timothy is really dealing with a competing teachers that are around the churches that he and Paul ministered to and started, and teaching things that were disconnecting them from the gospel, from Jesus and the church.
But very interesting things.
Yes.
Very attention-grabbing things.
Yes. And while that looks different today, we're speaking to that same problem.
We're accumulating teachers. That's a really interesting. You're accumulating teachers, and the question is, who's teaching you? And how much of your attention is dedicated towards Jesus teaching you, right? Because here's what Jesus teaches, and this is the next one, okay? Teacher, it's almost as though we planned this. Yes? Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Talking to Jesus, calling him a teacher, which is of all the things God said, which is the most important? Jesus replied, vote for the right candidate.
No. What?
He says that. It's right there. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. And we have a tendency to screw this interpretation up, right? Because there's something in the language here that says, hey, these two things are not 1A and 1B.
Right.
These two things, it's a two-part command. So love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. You cannot separate the one from the other. Okay? You can't subvert the one over the other, right? All the law and the prophets hang on these two commands, okay? So that's Matthew 22. In Matthew 28, here's what he says. Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I'm with you always, even to the very end of the age. This is one I go back to a lot when it comes to this thing, because what I watch, especially from a pastoral position, is the outcome of when our attention has been grabbed by something other than Jesus. The outcome of that always is other things are more important than what he says are most important. So the very real cost that sometimes we don't, that we're more than willing to pay when we shouldn't pay this cost. The very real cost of allowing our attention to be grabbed by something other than Jesus is I give myself permission not to love someone else. Especially the kinds of people that Jesus says is most important to love, my neighbor and my enemy. Like the commander-in-chief of our righteous army who died for his enemies said, his marching orders, most important thing is to love God, love your neighbor, and love your enemies. And then he walked to a cross and he did all three of those things. And then he goes, take up your cross and follow me. The most important, the thing that we go like, we can never compromise on is loving God and neighbor and enemies. That is our mark, right? And so, man, if whatever is captured our attention is kind of giving us permission to not do that, there's nothing more anti-Christ than that. Okay? All right, we're going to keep going. I'm not going to give you guys can't say anything about that. I said everything that needs to be said. That's right.
That's good.
I could have
Full send.
Okay, so here's the last one. And this scripture is probably our rallying cry. Maybe all the time, and then certainly in election years, or certainly in areas that tend to be more divisive. Okay, it's John 17, 20, latter part of that, verses 23. And this is Jesus's high priestly prayer. So this is him going literally to save humanity. And he prays this prayer that we have recorded, and he has us in mind, like you and me, like people that are going to believe way, way, way far down the line. Okay, here's what he says. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, meaning the people that had followed him, his disciples, are going to pass his message on to their disciples, their disciples, their disciples, on down the line. And here's what Jesus wants for us. I want all of them to be one. They may all be one, Father. And if there's any doubt in what he meant by that, here's what he says. I want them to be one, just as you are in me and I am in you. Think about the unity between the Father and the Son. May they also be in us so that, why? So that they can avoid all kinds of conflict. So they can all think the same. So that, everybody's just nice and polite all the time. So that political correctness may reign supreme. Why? I want them to be unified so that the world may believe that you have sent me. Jesus wants us to be unified in such a way where our message to this watching world is so clear.
Yes.
That it points to who Jesus is and who his Father is. I've given them the glory that you've given me, that they may be one as we are one, I and them and you and me, so that they may be brought to complete unity, and then the world will know that you sent me and you've loved them even as you have loved me. We've taken some arrows as a church sometimes for being a no matter church. And usually the arrows that kind of come our way are pretty predictable. One of the most common ones is all you care about is reaching people. You don't really care about the truth. This passage articulates and identifies why we are, part of the reason why we are a no matter church. It's primarily because we're concerned about the world.
Yes.
That causes us to go.
Yes.
We got to be really clear on the most important truth. And we also have to be really clear on what's not as, so that it doesn't compete, so that the watching world knows, hey, this church, more than any sort of political platform, more than any other competing message, what they want us to know about is that there is a God, his son is Jesus, and he's the way.
Yes.
And we don't want anybody else to compete with that message. Amen?
Amen.
All right. Hey, that is our time, okay? And so thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for joining us in this conversation. It's super important. It's one that we're going to continue to have. Simon, Cody, thanks for joining us today.
That was fun to sit down with those guys and talk about how we use technology and screens personally and with our families, and even some of the boundaries that we do set. And I do want to emphasize again that there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way to do it. How I do it, or Simon or Jesse does it, isn't necessarily the right way. But what is true with all of those is that we try to be intentional and not reactive with how we use screens and technology. So maybe if you're in a spot where you just are reactive, and I know I can be that way as well, but if you've been more reactive than proactive and intentional with your screen time, just encourage you to sit down today and create a plan. Write down how you want to use technology, the boundaries that you want to set, even some of the friction, like we talked about, that you could create behind some of those technology platforms or even apps, so that it just takes a little more effort, a little more intentionality to go do the thing that you're going to do. So just encourage you to do that today. And if you do, I'm just confident you're going to have more quality family time. You're going to feel better. There's just going to be a lot of positive benefits in your life if you were just more intentional in fighting this battle that we have with screens and screen time. So just encourage you to do that today. And if you need prayer or someone to talk to, I'd love to connect with you. I'm on the other end to talk with you, to pray with you. All you need to do is hit the live prayer button, and I'll be there to connect with you. Kids, you are up next. Children's Ministry is going to begin in just 1 minute. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you back next week.
What steals your joy? Your day is going great, and then out of nowhere, it happens. Your brand new shoes get splashed with mud. Or maybe you're excited for a sleepover at your friend's house, but you get sick. Could be mom reminds you that you've got a dentist appointment, which is never fun. Maybe it's simply that your friend gets picked for the choir solo instead of you, or there's something new on your dinner plate. In moments, you go from feeling on top of the world to down in the dumps. Emotions can be just like a roller coaster. Life happens, and before you know it, you're up, you're down, you're upside down. We live in a broken world, and sometimes things will be hard and sad. But God designed us for joy. Even when difficult things happen, we can choose to celebrate what God has done, what God is doing. A friend's smile, bright sunshine, a cold glass of water on a hot day. Keep looking for places where God is at work. Then you can say, come sunshine or rain, when things don't go my way, still my joy can stay. When you choose to see and celebrate what God is doing, others can see God at work in you. That's why joy is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
I've got joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Joy down in my soul to stay, and nothing's gonna take it away. Joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Whatever comes my way, I'll be okay. 'Cause I've got joy. Oh, I've got joy. Come sunshine or rain, when things don't go my way, still my joy can stay. 'Cause you give me blessings every day. I've got joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Joy down in my soul to stay, and nothing's gonna take it away. Joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Whatever comes my way, I'll be okay. 'Cause I've got joy. Ooh, I've got joy. You fill my heart with hope. You're everywhere I go. So even if I'm feeling low, I still got this one thing, this I know. I've got joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Joy down in my soul to stay, and nothing's gonna take it away. Joy down in my soul. I'm gonna let this feeling take control. Whatever comes my way, I'll be okay. 'Cause I've got joy. Oh, I've got joy. Every new sunrise gonna fix my eyes on the one who never fails. I'm gonna make some noise 'cause you give me joy, and it's never ever going away. Every new sunrise gonna fix my eyes on the one who never fails. I'm gonna make some noise 'cause you give me joy, and it's never ever going away. Whoa, 'cause I've got joy. Ooh, I've got joy, yeah. 'Cause I've got joy. Whatever comes my way, I'll be okay. Oh,
Hey, welcome to Story Lab. This week we're talking about joy while we take a look at the story of some guys who got the biggest surprise of all time. Hey, I'm Zeke.
Oh, and I'm Carter.
And we're talking about joy, which is choosing to celebrate what God is doing. Carter, what are you doing?
Organizing. Almost done.
Well, I don't see the joy in that, or that you're gonna be done anytime soon.
Hey, what's with the hat?
Oh, I like to plan ahead for Christmas by celebrating in July, which is scientifically proven to help Christmas get here faster. Something that organizing does not do.
Well, believe it or not, I actually enjoy sorting stuff.
For real?
Yeah, it's very relaxing. You wanna help?
Well, I'm always down to help a friend, but can we make this a bit more fun?
Sure.
Oh, we need music. I forgot my phone. Can I see your playlists?
I think I accidentally organized my phone in one of these boxes.
Well, then we make our own music.
Okay. Oh, please don't tell me that you're going to sing. Remember karaoke?
Karaoke. But no, I have an even better idea. You ready? Let's make it!
All right, what do we need?
You got everything you need right here.
Right here?
No, right here. We'll need latex gloves, pair of scissors, some tape, and a bunch of straws.
So we don't need the bottles. All right, let's make some music.
First up, clarinets and flutes. Grab a straw and flatten one end of it.
Okay.
And you can even do this with your teeth.
Oh. That's fine.
Then, cut the sides like a V so you have pointed ends with your scissors.
This might be a good time to ask a grown-up for help.
Totally. All right, after you make the points, bite down again to compress them. And that will help make the sound.
Ready?
Yeah.
This is so annoying. I love it. Is that Jingle Bells?
What else? And if you want to change the pitch, cut the straw shorter.
Nice.
Yeah.
The shorter the straw, the higher the note.
And if you cut it too short, just add another straw at the end. And you can do that by cutting about halfway down the straw,
Like so.
then curling up so it's a little bit smaller, and sticking it in to the other end. Might take some trial and error. Oh. Hey, you got it working.
Oh, okay, now, what about these?
Oh, right, almost forgot. Nothing says Christmas like bagpipes.
Really?
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Step one, put on one of the gloves. Okay. Then take the other glove and put it on over the first.
Got it?
I got it. All right. Then carefully peel them off together so they basically become one inside-out glove.
This part is tricky.
Yeah. Make sure all the fingers are flipped inside out. Now, step two, pretend the glove is a balloon and blow it up a little. Moving right along to step three, tie the wrist part of the glove in a nice tight knot. There. You got yours?
Got mine.
Perfect. Then you need to cut the tip of the thumb off.
All right. Thumb tip cut off.
Now you need two of these long flutes with pointed ends.
I love a good callback.
Step four, put the pointed end into the thumb hole and tape it into place. And there.
What's next?
Okay, bagpipe magic. Here we go. Put pressure on the pinky straw or chanter to start, and then blow into the thumb straw or blowpipe. Then release the chanter and let the music play. Look at that.
Yo, that's so cool.
As long as the bag is full of air, the bagpipe won't stop droning.
Wow, so that's how they hold those notes in for so long.
Yep. These bagpipes could basically make this strange but joyful noise forever.
Speaking of joy, it's time for...
The story before the story.
Today we're in the third book of the New Testament, Luke.
God had a plan to bless the whole world through one family, the Israelites.
But God's people kept turning away. At last, they were attacked by foreign nations.
Even in this dark time, God spoke through prophets and promised to send a rescuer.
After hundreds of years, God sent an angel to an ordinary girl named Mary. He told her she would give birth to a baby, God's very own son, Jesus.
Which is where our story starts.
Take it away.
Hey everyone! Before Mary had her baby, Mary and Joseph had to make a road trip to Bethlehem so they could be counted by the Romans. But Bethlehem was so crowded, they couldn't find a room anywhere, except a place where the animals stayed. So God's very own son, Jesus, king of the entire universe, was born where cows and sheep were kept and placed in a feeding trough to sleep. It was the most incredible news ever, and no one knew about it yet. But just outside of town, a group of shepherds were taking care of their sheep. Now, of all the jobs somebody could have, shepherds were pretty low on the list. I mean, they spent nearly all their time out on the fields with a bunch of dirty sheep. Now, we don't know much about the group of shepherds outside Bethlehem, but we could imagine one of them was a young shepherd out there with his grandpa.
It's so cold and boring. Does anything ever happen out here?
It takes a lot of love and skill to keep these woolly ragamuffins safe.
I guess.
In time, you'll come to know them each by name. What we do here is real important.
Sure doesn't feel like it.
In God's eyes, every single person is of great value. And for these shepherds, on this incredible night, everything was about to change. Suddenly, brilliant light split the dark night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them.
What's happening?
The shepherds were understandably terrified.
Do not be afraid. I bring you good news. It will bring great joy to all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord.
How can this be?
Why is he telling us?
Here is how you will know I am telling you the truth. You will find a baby wrapped in strips of cloth and lying in a manger.
Suddenly, a group of angels appeared around the first one.
May glory be given to God in the highest heaven, and may peace be given to those he is pleased with on earth.
And just like that, the angels disappeared. The shepherds stared in awe at the dark sky.
Glory be!
Can we go to Bethlehem right now?
You bet your sheep's wool. Let's see this thing that's happened. Lickety-split!
Those shepherds hurried off to Bethlehem and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger, just as the angel had said.
He's just like a baby lamb.
What a time to be alive.
After the shepherds had seen Jesus, they hurried out into the streets of Bethlehem.
Hey, everyone! God sent a Savior!
Praise be to God!
God had chosen a handful of lowly shepherds to carry the most important message ever. And the shepherds were so filled with joy that they shared the good news about Jesus with everyone they met. The end.
Wow, can you imagine sitting around the campfire, shooting the breeze, and then bam!
Full-on angel choir.
Yeah, I always wondered what the music really sounded like.
So, what's our part in the story?
Well, you may not be visited by an angel choir, but like the shepherds, you can find joy in your ordinary everyday life. Jesus brought joy to the world, and Jesus still brings joy to the world.
So you can have joy at school when you have to stand up in front of class.
Or at soccer practice when you have to run laps.
You can even have joy at the dentist.
Or when you're waiting in a line that takes forever.
That's absolutely right. No matter how average or even frustrating your day is, you can always choose to focus on the joyful news the shepherds shared.
That God sent Jesus.
Exactly. Jesus came to live with us and show us how to love God and love others in any situation. And when you just remember that, every moment is an opportunity to share God's love and spread a little joy.
When you're waiting in line, you can smile at someone.
When your little brother's being super annoying, you can be patient and show him a little joy.
Those are great ideas.
For joy to the world.
Joy to the world, you got it. It's not too early for Christmas songs, is it? See you next time.
So, here's the thing. Jesus brings joy to the world.
Speaking of joy, shall we jam?
That would bring me great joy.
We should go on tour.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us in the Story Lab. See you next time. Who's to read?
Yeah, let's title it Ode to Chaos.
Yes, like this.
Yeah. I'll set the beat.